All right, welcome back. Let's turn to another example here where we're trying to find the domain. So let's look here at this example. Let's call this function g of x. G of x is equal to the cube root of 4x minus 19. Okay. So we go through our checklist, right? We go through our checklist. Do I have a denominator? No denominator. So no. So I move on. Do we have even roots? We do have a radical, but it's an odd root. Odd roots are okay with uh, negative numbers. So the answer to question number 2 is no. So that brings me to point number 3. If we answer no to both questions, then the domain is all real numbers. The domain is all real numbers. Now later on, we will add other questions to this list. So it'll be more than 3 questions now. But for now, it's just the 2 questions. So if we answer no to all those, then the domain is everything. And that's what we're dealing with here. We do not solve anything here. There is no equation to solve at all. We recognize by asking the questions, and we find out that the domain here would be all real numbers. And so there's nothing else for us to do in that example there. Let's consider a second one. Let's consider the function h of x equals the square root of 2x minus 9. 2x minus 9. Okay, so we go through our checklist. Do we have division? No. So there's no denominator, so there's no denominator to solve equal to 0. Okay, so we don't do that. I can tell you, I've seen people make the mistake here. They'll solve the equation 2x minus 9 because they get it in their head that every domain problem involves setting something equal to 0. But that's not the case. We don't have a denominator, so we don't do that. We do, however, have an even root. So when we have an even root, we don't set something equal to 0. We solve the inequality 2x minus 9 greater than or equal to 0. Right? So we have to solve this inequality here. 2x minus 9 greater than or equal to 0. So we do that. So to solve the inequality, we bring the 9 over. Now we then divide by 2, and since we're dividing by a positive number, the inequality remains in the same direction. Had that been a negative 2 instead, and we divide it by negative 2, that's when we would reverse the direction of the inequality. So here we get the inequality x greater than or equal to 9/2. And so now we want to write that answer in interval notation so that we can write out our domain in interval notation here. Okay, so we do that. So coming to my number line here, again, if you're comfortable doing these without having to write out the number line, that is great. But I think some of you might find drawing out the physical number line helpful to keep track of left endpoint, right endpoint, that kind of stuff when it comes to the question of domain. So domain here would be bracket 9/2, comma, infinity. That's how we found the domain of that second function there.